Welcome to the city's backyard with Matt, the Z-Man Zako, a podcast that interviews all walks of life from their own backyard. The city's backyard starts now. It is Diane, Cece, the president of the East Norwalk Neighborhood Association, in the backyard of East Norwalk, Connecticut. And we have you on, Diane, because we have some breaking news. We have an update on this Norden Park trucking situation that's been going on.
That's right, Matt. Thanks for having me back on, the famous Matt Zako. I do want to tell you first, before I bring up the Norden, that I did manage to pull myself away from the Puppy Bowl pregame show and caught you there on the Super Bowl Kansas City Chiefs segment. So nice going. Way to go, Matt.
Thank you so much, Diane. Yeah, that was a lot of fun shooting that. Matter of fact, we shot it right in Fairfield, and I was on, as you saw, ESPN's The Sunday NFL Countdown on ESPN. So that was a blast. I appreciate it.
How many takes was that thing?
Oh, how many takes did we do? Geez, well, we shot all day. I think I must have thrown the ball at least 30 or 40 times. So, yeah.
Well, I'll go easy on you. You're probably a hurting puppy today. So,
well, we got this breaking news that the zoning commission Zoom meeting was canceled. And the episode has been about home values in Fairfield County, especially the Norwalk area. And we still wanted to air those segments because, you know, although this meeting has been canceled, we're afraid of what the next applicant may want, right? Exactly.
So with the public hearing being canceled, the reason why it was canceled is because the applicant actually withdrew their application early this morning, around 11:45 this morning. They formally wrote into zoning and they withdrew the application. They didn't state a reason, which they don't have to. And so the public hearing is over with, but it doesn't mean that that this discussion is over with regarding that parcel or any other parcel. The fact that it didn't get seen through, what we were actually looking to do was to let this application run its course and then be denied by the zoning commission, which means it couldn't be reapplied for, not any time in the near future. By the applicant choosing to withdraw it, they can come back at any time or with a similar application or something different that's allowed at that use.
Which is exactly why we had to have you on the show, because we don't want people to let their guard down that, you know, this is completely over for good. So as it stands now, this is not happening, but so the original applicant has withdrawn, so they will not come back, but somebody else could. Right.
And actually the original applicant can come back as well.
Oh, really?
So because they withdrew, they can come back. There's a few different scenarios, and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer for folks, but we do want folks to be realistic, even as they celebrate what we see as a win today. So a few things can happen. That one is that the same applicant can come back. They can come back essentially with this application, but modified to a way that they think they can get it approved. They can come back with another special permit application for another use at the same site, or they can come back with what's called an as-of-right application, applying for any of the several uses that don't even require a public hearing. That's one scenario. And then you could have the current owners of the property apply on their own for a permit for any of those uses, or you could yet have a third party come in and seek zoning approval for the parcel for any of those uses.
Two things I wanted to mention before I forget. One, my daughter actually wrote a letter to the mayor saying that this was not good for school children walking to and from school. And, she explained what she wrote, and I'm very proud of her for that. And then also I was talking to somebody else I know, and they had worked at Norden Park, and they said that there was a diesel fuel spill there years ago, where the residents in the community saw the fuel going down into like a little creek, and it almost leaked into Long Island Sound, 2,000 gallons. Did you know about that?
Yeah, so that leak is, I'm not sure if it was diesel that was originally the source, but there were contaminants, I think, that included triethylchloroline and some of your listeners may know about that. I think I have the right pronunciation. And that's when Norden was there manufacturing. So there was a spill. It did impact, I believe it even impacted homeowners' wells in that area as well. So there was extensive cleanup done, and then funding that had to be done to remedy for the homeowners as well. That was under the previous use. And of course, it does mean that that parcel may or may not ever be considered for residential use just due to that contamination that happened, Matt.
Well,
and kudos, I want to say kudos to your daughter, please. That's fantastic. A great civics lesson there. And I'm really proud of her. Thank her for doing that.
Absolutely. And, speaking of kudos to all the people that showed up to the protest on Strawberry Hill.
Wow. Yeah, exactly. In the bitter cold, the wind, it was crazy. And then people were actually willing to come out this past weekend too. In the end now it wasn't necessary, but thousands of people either wrote in, signed the petition, distributed flyers, put lawn signs out. It really was a community effort, and this thing couldn't have been withdrawn or won without everybody in it. Everybody played a large part.
Including you. I was going to say, and kudos to you as well for leading up this whole thing. And your point is that we can't let our guard down. And when I say I have to be careful because here I am being a broadcaster and trying to be neutral, but at the same time, this is my community and I care about it. I have children that live in this community. So I can't help having an opinion. I do try and stay neutral, but I mean, it's very difficult, especially when, we could have all these trucks potentially ruining our own backyard.
Right, exactly. And I think the key is to be, going forward, is to be proactive. And that's what our goal is now, to review all of the zoning code as it applies to East Norwalk and take a look at what some of these objectionable uses are and be proactive in having them removed from the zoning code so that we don't have to go through this again. If we really want to protect our neighborhoods and our property values and our quality of life, we can't fight these battles on the back end. This has been 7 months of people may not realize that actually, Matt. This has been going on for 7 months. It's insane. So we want to be proactive now, get some of these objectionable uses out of our zoning codes, either as of right or special permits, and get things in there that we think are beneficial to the community. Protect our property values and our quality of life.
Yeah, we kind of blew the whistle on this thing through social media, through the podcast. And so now we've kind of learned as a community that we all have to get involved if we don't want something like diesel fumes in our backyard. And so what can you say going forward to people so that they know what to do so they're not in the dark about these things that may be swept under the carpet like this sort of was?
What a great question. Thanks for that. And that's one of the things that we're really pleased with is that no matter how the vote would have gone on this, if it came through to conclusion, one of the big benefits is that people really finally got engaged in the community. And they're starting to learn now that there's a number of avenues that they can avail themselves to be kept in the loop and to trust the sources who are providing that, such as the East Norwalk Neighborhood Association. Mm-hmm. We had literally hundreds of people sign up for our emails now that are engaged. So that they'll be kept informed through us. And a lot of the people that were part of this effort told us, I never went to City Hall for a meeting. This is the first letter I've ever written to a commission or to the mayor. I'm not involved in anything with city government, but I felt so strongly about this and about our community that I felt I had to do something. And I really have to tell you, Matt, I think a good percentage of those people are going to stay informed and engaged. I really do, and I hope so. Yeah,
and the thing that I felt a lot of people were confused about, and you had mentioned it as well, this wasn't just an East Norwalk issue. This was an issue that was affecting Westport and affecting all of Fairfield County. I mean, if these trucks get off exit 16 and 17 in the future, if there's more applicants that want to do the same thing, this affects 95. This will snarl traffic everywhere. So I just want you to reiterate to people outside of the Norwalk community, this is a large podcast. A lot of people listen all throughout the county as well as, the tri-state area. What what can you say so that they can stay informed as well, so this doesn't mess up their own roads on Interstate 95?
Yeah, I think, and that's a little trickier. I mean, we do want people to understand that they should be informed because we really are one large community. We're one large ecosystem here. And what one community does or doesn't do really does impact all of us. In terms of keeping informed, it's hard. But I think people have to avail themselves to whatever sources they use, social media, traditional media, being engaged with watching agendas in their own towns of what's coming up on planning and zoning and land use applications, being in touch with their elected officials and saying, I want to be alerted if there's any kind of an application that's going to impact our quality of life. And reach out to neighborhood associations. And if you don't have one, consider forming one, because that's a great avenue for having people have eyes on City Hall and town halls to keep an eye on what's going on and getting people involved early in the process so that they can impact either, what they want or to fight something, as in this case.
Diane, Cece, the president of the East Norwalk Neighborhood Association. Why don't you just give out the information so that if people want to, be informed, how can they find the organization?
Great. Thank you, Matt. So East Norwalk Neighborhood Association, you'll see us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and nextdoor.com, but also at our website, www.eastnorwalk.org. And you can always email us at info@eastnorwalk.org.
Now, one final thing before I let you go. So if the next applicant is similar, or like you said, this applicant could come back and propose the same thing they were proposing, with trucks affecting the community, other people outside of East Norwalk can get involved with these zoning commission meetings, right?
Of course. Yes, exactly. So anyone can speak at a public hearing. Different towns handle their hearings differently. In Norwalk, they do require that you give your name and address. And depending on the size of the crowd that may want to speak, they may reserve it to Norwalk residents first, and then out of towners. But anyone, anywhere can speak at a public hearing. Thanks
so much for coming and talking with us and explaining everything and keeping the community informed through, not only social media, but the City's Backyard podcast. We appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you, Matt. Thank you for that. And the podcast really blasts this word out there, and we appreciate it. That puts a wrap on another edition of the City's Backyard, a podcast with Matt the Z-Man Zako. We'll be back next week with more interesting topics, great guests, and fun conversation about what's happening in and around your community. That's it for now. We'll see you soon. The opinions expressed by the guests are not necessarily those of the host of the City's Backyard podcast or its sponsors. The City's Backyard podcast tapes weekly, and the topics and information are related to the time of the taping. Thanks for listening to the City's Backyard.